It's like you don't know who you are when you're there. So, and
it's crazy.
Yeah. So I just think it's conditioning, and that's why Startup Creative does what it does, because it's like, hey, there's another way here. It's been done. I've done it. Other people are doing it.
Yeah.
If you want it bad enough, you can have it.
Welcome to More Than Money with your host, Ross Murray. This episode of More Than Money is brought to you by More Time Financial, a financial planning company who are on a mission to help young Australians make smarter decisions with money by providing real-life financial advice, coaching, and financial education.
I'm Kaylene, I'm 29, and I'm the founder of Startup Creative, which is an online platform and print magazine that showcases creative entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And then part of that is we help people start their own businesses as well. So
as a business coach?
Business coach, run workshops, events, online courses, ebooks, resources, everything you need to start a business, really.
And what type of businesses? Like any particular person, like young, old? Creative, non-creative?
Yeah, mainly creative at the moment. I mean, we're anyone who, like, probably more the underlying thing is anyone that wants to do what they love.
Yeah.
So whether that's, be a financial planner or a candle maker or surfboard shaper or, whatever it is that you want to do. It's about following your passion, doing what you love, and designing the life of your dreams. So
awesome.
A lot of those people are creative.
And was that the goal at the start? Like, obviously, name Startup Creative. Was that your kind of thought process?
No, I actually started with young people. So my background was youth work, and I started investigating the space of entrepreneurships and startups. And then I knew that the more I looked into it, the more I was like, this is how young, creative, at-risk kind of young people work, because that was who I'd worked with. I was like, it's really out of the box. There's a lot of creativity and freedom, and it's all about taking risk and trying things that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids who don't fit the schooling system are naturally wired like that and end up getting in a lot of trouble in the school system because
they don't fit.
Yeah, because they're just out of the box thinkers. So my passion from the beginning was, let's apply entrepreneurship to those young people who are on the verge of getting kicked out of school because they're not very good at sitting still and filling in a blank in a test.
Yeah.
So that's where it all began. And then over time realizing that it's just the way of the future, like the millennial really, which is we want to work for ourselves. We want the freedom to travel the world. We are very savvy online. We're not necessarily devoted to employees.
Yeah.
And we're prepared to just go it our own and figure it out. And there's a lot of, when you're young, just naturally, you're more likely to take risks and, fall on your face and not be ashamed by it. And we're not getting mortgages and doing all those things. So there is more flexibility to take risks.
Definitely.
Which means that, if you're in that space and you've got that freedom, you're more likely to give a business a crack.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
So that kind of that age group, is there a particular person when they come to you and you say, oh, no, sorry, too old, or is it?
Nah, not at all. I've got a couple who are in their late 50s who own a jewellery shop in Sydney, and they're just like, we want freedom. We don't want to be stuck in the 9 to 5 of running this jewellery shop in a shopping centre. We want to go online. We want to travel and find local artists around the globe and represent their jewellery. So I'm helping that couple to go online and create an Instagram account.
Yeah.
And then I've got a couple of older ladies who are jewellery makers as well, and another lady who makes handmade soaps. And just cool stuff like that. Where it's just people just want to do what they love.
Has it been surprising to you, the amount of non-traditional businesses like that example? Obviously, people have to buy soap. But is there ones that come along and you're like, all right, how do we turn this into a business? Or that's probably the challenge, and that's probably the interesting part.
Yeah, as in an idea that I'm like, oh, would this really work?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I honestly believe anything can work.
Yeah.
If obviously there's ideas that have been done before, I think you need to have a point of difference. So finding people that, if people come to me and go, this is what I'm doing, and I'll challenge them and be like, well, what's different about this, and this compared to whatever's in the marketplace already.
Yeah.
So more so finding that unique to bringing something to the marketplace. I met a lady the other day. She's not a client, but she is a friend of a friend, and she is writing a one-woman musical that is a professional personal motivational development course as well. So it's a mix between like a Tony Robbins workshop and a musical play performance. And it's all about masks and dropping the mask, and the audience gets engaged and things like that. And I just heard it, and she just spoke with such passion, and it's like imagines herself in New York presenting it, and all of those things. And I'm like, wow, like if you really believe in yourself enough, and you're also able to take feedback and get the right guidance and mentorship, then there's no reason you can't make it work. Yeah.
That's awesome. So wait to see that come out.
Yeah, stay tuned. I think she'll do great. She's so enthusiastic and just really backing herself.
So when did you start up creative?
In 2014, I think it was. Yeah. So I was. Do you want the story? Do you want the backstory?
Sure. Give us the background.
Give it to you straight.
Yeah.
All right. So I was working in program development. My role was to help the Queensland government reform the youth sector across Queensland. So
nice, simple task.
Yeah, nice. I actually was so inspired. I was like, this is my dream job. People are, I'm going to go and find the best of youth services across the globe and bring them to Queensland, and Queensland's going to be the best at delivering youth services.
Going one step back from that, was that something you'd studied, like out of school, or is it something you wanted to do?
My mentality of my career has been jump in and figure it out, and just put your hat in the ring and just keep knocking on the door. So my first job out of school was at an outdoor ed centre, and running high ropes and things like that. And I had no qualifications. I knew I wanted to work there. I'm a bit impatient, like I didn't want to go and do the course.
Sure.
So my mum helped me research a internship, like an apprenticeship program, and found all of this funding that this company could get if they took me on as an apprentice. So I went and knocked on the door and was like, look, my mum can set up this. She was doing it in her job with young people. My mum has, I can do this apprenticeship if you take me on, this is how it works, and you'll get rebates and all that. And they're like, oh, we've kind of already got someone in a place like that. And I just kept knocking on the door. And then eventually they're like, okay, you can have the job. And when I eventually got the job, I was there for a year. They were like, you were so persistent with that we had to take you. Like, we'll always admire that.
Choice.
Yeah. So I went from that to I did volunteer work for 2 years, and I actually used to help set up youth groups for the Catholic Church around Australia as well. And then that really formed me in program development, like writing engaging content. And then I went from there to work in a high school and run the spiritual side of the school, which was like liturgies and camps and and I worked closely with the counsellors to work with kids at risk who were on the verge of being kicked out. And then from there to the Queensland government role.
Awesome.
And I was just burnt out. I just came in with lots of enthusiasm, and it wasn't being received, and there was lots of red tape.
Were you living on the coast, working in Brisbane? Like, where was it?
Yeah, I was living on the Gold Coast and commuting to Brisbane. So it was literally like alarm went off at like 5:36, got up like without even thinking, like just shocked to the alarm. Okay, cool, better go. Get dressed, get a coffee, go to the train station, park the car, walk, run with the train, get on the train by 7:15, and then the train would take an hour and a half, and then I would try and walk from the train station to my office to get some exercise and breathing space in.
Sure.
Probably get another coffee as well. And then, so it was probably about, by the time you leave the house to getting to your sign-in form at the office, it's it was almost 2 hours, and it was
and that's obviously each way. So
each
4 hours a day.
Yeah, and just that dread at the end of the day, knowing what's ahead. There was days, and if you don't time it right, you get peak hour train, and I was literally sitting on the floor, and I just had no shame. I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm sitting on this dirty train floor. I just need to chill.
The kicker for me, I was doing a similar thing. I'm living down here and transferring up, and someone bought their own little stool, and they put their stool on the train. I was like, they just know that they're not getting a seat. So they bring their own little camper stool and sit in the middle.
It's horrible. And I remember one day, like, sitting across from someone, and there was a delay in the train or something, and so people started chatting because no one talks on the train, which is even more retarded. It's like we're all stuck in this tiny little thing and no one even is happy enough to start a conversation. And someone said something about, I've been doing this for 7 years. And I was like, this is disgusting. Like, I did it for a year and it was so soul destroying and painful. And it was just like, by the end of it, I'm like, I need out. So I actually had this, I was waking up with this reoccurring headache, and I just remember waking up and being so miserable. Like, I would just like, don't even look at me. Like, I was so angry. And I eventually, my partner would be like, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. I'm like, no, there's nothing wrong. I'm just, whatever. Eventually I was like, okay, I'm going to the doctor. I'm sent to the doctor, and I'm like, I wake up with a headache really bad every single morning. And it's been going on for 3 months. And she was like, okay, you need to go straight to a brain scan. Like, I've booked you for an MRI. I'm bulk billing it. You don't have to pay. Get there as soon as possible. So I called. I got in the next day. Like, scary. Have you been to an MRI?
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you're dying.
You're in a little coffin and like...
And it's
noises.
And it just, the whole experience is really intense, and you're kind of freaking out, and you're like, what's going on?
Especially if you don't know what's wrong. Like, a lot of time, I went to an MRI for my shoulder. I knew my shoulder was wrong. Like, something's wrong. But when you go into that, you don't know what's wrong. Like,
and I was just like, it was bad. And then, so it was just like, I just went into panic mode. I was like, why is she being so serious about this? It's a headache. And I guess in her mind, she was like, you shouldn't be waking up with headaches, so maybe there's something wrong. So I waited 24 hours for the scan results, and she was like, come straight back to me when they're in, and I'll call you and come in or whatever. So in that 24 hours, I was like, wow, like, if something is seriously wrong here, like, what would I do differently? Like, what have I not done in life that I should, like, do in the next 3 months that I'm dying?
And how would you at this stage?
I think I was 24.
Okay.
I think, 2014, I'm 29 now. It was maybe 25. So the results came back. She sat me down and she was like, you're totally fine. There's nothing wrong with your brain. I think you're just really stressed. Like, what's your quality of life like? And I'm like, pretty shit. Yeah. So that was when I was like, okay, well, here's your list that you wrote if you're dying. Like, what's stopping you from doing it now? And about the same time, I picked up a book called Think and Grow Rich, which had the line, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And having been like a runner back in the day, like I used to compete in athletics and things like that. And I just had like, it just kind of clicked, this mindset of like, Kaylene, you used to be like a high achiever. You used to go after whatever you wanted to do and nothing could stop you. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're settling for something that's not serving you. And it just sparked me into this, like, stop being a victim. Like, no one's coming to save you. Your boss isn't going to, do anything. No one's going to make your life better. Like, you have to be the one that changes it. Yeah. And it was a matter of, like, it actually is quite daunting because you feel like, oh, shit, like, I have to do some hard work here.
Well, I think when that realisation, you're like, damn it, I've seen the other side of it.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, they just never see the other, or they just neglect that other side. So it's like, well, as soon as I get shown the light, now I have to do something about it.
And it's like it's easier being a victim because you feel like it's not your fault. It's not your fault your life's shit. Yeah. And you're just like, like, this is just life. It's shit, but, maybe one day it'll change. I'll get a lucky break or, and it's like, that's not how life works. The people who do well in life and have success and are doing what they love are the ones who actually go, all right, I'm not okay with this existence. I'm going to do something about it.
What was the top of the list on your, if I don't die today, what will I do differently? What was number one?
It was probably something like get my nails done more often. Just like have free time. Like I remember at the time it was really, I just had no self-care. Like there was no time in my day to go and get my nails done or get a facial or like just look after myself, exercise, eat. I wasn't eating well. Just like that there was no spare time.
And was there something holding you there? Like was it the financial side? Was your paycheck kind of like, oh, well, if I leave, then I'm going to lose my good paying job? Or
Yeah, absolutely. So both my parents are on salaries, so it's like that's what I grew up knowing, is that, you know, when you're on a salary and you get paid leave and you get holiday day, sick leave, and then you're killing it, you know, like you've nailed it. And when I started, like I don't have a degree, so when I started as a youth worker in a high school, they put me on $50,000, and it was like, from someone who had no debt, nothing, it was just like, I was a millionaire, like I felt so rich. And then, you know, then my next job, I think they bumped me up to like $60,000. And then, so when I was writing, I wrote a dream list of the next job that I wanted when I was done with my second job and I was getting the government job. And on my dream list, I wrote a $15,000 pay rise. And so when I got the job, it was a $75,000 income. So I'm like, I am killing it. Like
$75,000 at 24 years old. No degree.
No degree.
Really laughing.
Just hustling my way through. And figuring it out. And so in my mind, I was like, I'm on $75K. I've got 10 days sick leave. I'd negotiated to work 4 days a week. So 1 day a week was at home where I started building my business.
Nice.
I had 4 weeks paid holiday leave that I could take my family away at the time. And and it was actually my partner who was like, that's not freedom. Like, that's you're not doing anything amazing. Like, you're actually stuck in the rat race. I was like, whatever, you're the one working in a coffee shop. Like, I'm killing it. And that's what inspired me to pick up the book. But once I started seeing, I really did go into that mindset. And it's funny now, looking at that $15,000 pay rise over a year, it's like, if I apply myself enough, I can make that in 2 weeks. You know, like that's when you run your own business, there is no cap to your income. Like, you can pull in $75,000. And I did, like in my first 12 months in Startup Creative, I turned over $100,000, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is real, you know. And just by, you know, there's no one restricting you, and you can put in as many hours, and you can put whatever price you want on your products and services. And
I think that bit about working whatever hours you want, that's always been an interesting one for me, because people think, oh, you run your own business. Mainly people that are employed. You run your own business. Oh, that's awesome. You must like spend your day at the beach. Like, you know, wouldn't have to work ever. You can do whatever you want. And for me, it's kind of that opposite, because I was like, well, I love what I do. I'm super intrigued and like want to do it all the time. That I want to work extra hours. Whereas I found I was working a part-time job when I first got into uni. And they're paying me an hourly rate. And I was like, well, cool. I'll just work more hours to get paid more. And the boss came to me and said, no, you have to go home, because we can't afford to pay you more than what we budgeted for. And I was like, well, that sucks. Like, I want to earn more money. So then now, like, as I said, run your own business, you can work those hours you want. And earn what you want. It's
uncapped, and you get rewarded for how hard you're prepared to work. And I definitely, like, when I first started Startup Creative, like, I was sitting on Burleigh Hill with my laptop, under, like, hotspotting my internet under a tree, because, you know, and I'd like Instagram the beach, and like, my office for the day, but I couldn't afford an office space. So I was like, hey, I'm going to be on the beach. So, but from the very beginning, and I was lucky that my partner at the time was very big on work-life balance. So as much as we worked, my partner was building her own business as well. So we really challenged each other to build, and like, Sunday nights were, you know, on the computers, or like Saturday morning coffee, we'd be talking about our next business move. So it was very, like, incubated our businesses over 5 years together. So, but she also kept me accountable to work-life balance. So when we had success in our businesses and we were getting those paychecks in, we would take ourselves on 5-star holidays, or just like away for the weekend. Like, we did lots of staycations. Like, let's just go and get a beautiful villa in Byron for the weekend, so that we leave our laptops at home and actually don't work. So you also have the freedom to do that, or like midweek. You know, I remember one time we went up to Tambourine Mountain just in the middle of the week because we could, and we needed that de-stress time. So,
where do you see that on the work-life balance? I know it's a big topic, especially with entrepreneurs and business owners, and then obviously another layer onto that is the relationship side. When you have that conflict of maybe one person being employed and the other person employee, self-employed, so it's that challenge.
I mean, work-life balance, I think, I've now realised that it's about tuning in to, like, what feels right for you. So if you're in a place where you're like, I'm ready to hustle, like we were just talking about, like I've never felt so clear and inspired in my whole life than I do in this exact moment. Like, I'm just like, right, what else can I chew off? Like, give me a business, anyone, I want to build it. Like, so I feel really driven. But then, like, you know, I also went through a really heavy breakup over the last 12 months, and there was days where I just needed to be in bed and cry and like fuck Instagram off, you know, and things like that. So I think work-life balance is more about doing what is right for you at the moment. And I've also come to learn that, you know, there's times where you just need to call in a really strong discipline that is saying, like, get the job done. Like, my magazine's about to go to print, and these last little bits and pieces is about, like, do not stop now. You need to get this over the line. And then, but also, like, having time out, you know, and enjoying, you know, making sure that I'm looking after myself so I don't burn out. So yeah, I think work-life balance is, if you're feeling it, then do it. If you feel like you need to rest, then definitely rest, and that's freedom for me. And then in terms of relationships, I mean, I was really lucky that my ex and I both started our businesses at the same time, and my business got some big chunks of money in early because that's how it was structured, and hers was a bit of a slower build. So, you know, I loved her so much that I was like, just quit all the side hustles and just do this, and we'll make it work. And, you know, my business will bring in.
So it really was an incubator. You were you were funding and working together.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, she had this amazing skill set, and, you know, I could see how we could build her as a public figure. And as a result, I coached her and built her profile, and then the results and the success that I had from coaching her and putting it all in place meant that I validated my ability to be a business coach and backed myself as a business coach. So we really did, like, came to come
together. It's a win-win for
everyone. But yeah, I think, like, now on my criteria for my next partner is, like, entrepreneur, or at least the ability to work for themselves, because I think that they're really driven. People, entrepreneurs, are very driven, but also that they have the freedom. Like, I've worked hard for freedom. I've worked hard for being able to go overseas for weeks at a time, or, you know, take a weekday off and be on the beach or whatever. Like, so I want someone to enjoy that with. In terms of if someone is an employee, I think maybe. I mean, like, if I also, like, I do believe if people are happy and they're loving what they're doing and they're thriving, then 100% support you. You know, like, my sister is a nurse and she works for the government, and she is so passionate about what she does. So, and she has no desire to work for herself. And I'm like, you're doing what you love, so that's all that really matters. But yeah, I would say, like, get your partner to do what she loves. Or, you know, do what they love. As long as they're doing what they love. If they're not doing what they love, then challenging them and knowing that, you know, life is to be lived. Like, it's not meant to be suffered through and just put up with. And that's why I started, because I couldn't comprehend that we hustled and were miserable for 5 days of the week just to enjoy 2 working weekends.
And then sometimes be too exhausted and too tired to even enjoy that.
And even, like, okay, so Friday afternoon, everyone's like, fuck yeah, it's Friday. And then they go into this, like, you know, go and get drunk. And then maybe you're hungover on Saturday morning. And then you're kind of coming out of your hangover Saturday. And then I remember, like, Sunday lunchtime, having, like, the Sunday blues, we used to call it. Because you just get to this point where you're like, oh shit, my weekend's over. What have I got on this week? And you go into this kind of anxiety, dreading your week. So, you know, between a hangover and anxiety for the future, that's about 24 hours.
Slowly start to see where those headaches started to come from.
So, I just think it baffles me, and I think it's actual stupidity that people live like that. And I'm like, there's more to life.
And what do you think that is? Do you think that that's just the way it's been? So many people just accept that's it. Like, it's just, you wake up 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Have your Saturday, Sunday off, and then back to it. Like, is it just ingrained in us, or what?
I think it's social conditioning. I think it's all we've ever been told, and it, you know, like, my dad only recently just found out how much I earn an hour as a business coach, like, about 3 months ago. And he was like, oh, you're doing all right, hey? I'm like, yeah, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks. But I don't think before then he was like, didn't really know what I was doing. And I think it's just conditioning. Like, we've been told from, like, the schooling system is primed to build a 9-to-5er. Like, you don't go to school and go, what do you love? What's your passion? Let's focus on that. And what is your young, excited, untarnished mind have to bring to the world? It's like, hey, here's what kids have been taught for the last 100 years. We're going to pass that down and teach you the exact same thing. Then you're going to memorize it. Then we're going to put you in a pressure cooker room with all of your other peers, and you're going to remember the blanks and fill them in. And then if you remember in this intense environment, we're going to give you a grade, and then you're going to compare that to all of your other peers and probably decide how valuable you are to the world based on that. No matter what's going on in your little adolescent mind. Yeah. This starts from like grade 1 all the way for 12 years we're conditioned. And then, my experience was all the way through grade 12, or grade 11 really. It starts, well, what are you going to do? What degree are you going to do? What university are you going to go? What OP do you need? Like, it's all this grading. Yeah. So you're grade 11 and 12, you're being funneled into the next schooling system, which is a university degree, which, I totally, believe that they're valuable for people like doctors and who have those trades. But they're also, funneled to limit people's beliefs and creativity and passions. And so we get funneled into that system. And then once you graduate, like, I met a girl in the States who graduated, she's already done an undergrad of dentistry, and then she's about to do orthodontics. And by the time she finishes, she will be 27 and have, like, America, obviously their system's a little bit different, but she's going to have over $100,000 of debt from her degree. And it's that's probably considered a small debt in the scheme of things over there. Totally. And then it's like, you know what, when I was 27, that's when I was figuring out what my true passion was. Yeah. Like, I was really starting to come into my own and listen to myself and all of that. So it's like, you're not even going to have a chance to do that because there's going to be so much pressure on you to go and be an orthodontist now just to pay off the debt. That's just that alone. Yeah. So where in her whole life does she ever go, who am I? What do I love to do? Who do I want to be? Like, she started an orthodontics at age 17. Yeah. It's like, you don't know who you are when you're there. So, and it's crazy. Yeah. So I just think it's conditioning. And that's why Startup Creative does what it does, because it's like, hey, there's another way here. It's been done. I've done it. Other people are doing it. Yeah. If you want it bad enough, you can have it. I guess it's challenging those norms, challenging that stereotypical career path. Yeah, absolutely. Even a friend said to me the other day, who's like quite a forward thinker, said, she's going to go and, she was talking about a young girl that she knew, and she was like, she's going to go and do this when she finishes school, go to this university. And I was like, but what, is that her passion? Is that what she wants to do? And she's like, it doesn't matter. She's come from a very expensive... Who was she talking about? Like a girl who's in grade 11 that we both knew. She's like, it doesn't matter as long as she's in... she's come from a family of high-end money. This is the kind that she's been at this really expensive school. She's going to get these grades and go here. Yeah. And I was like, furious. I'm like, oh my God, this is how people think. Yeah. So, and you see where that stress and that anxiety probably starts off at, like, especially at a younger age, where it's like, okay, well, I need to get these grades. I need to impress mum and dad. I need to impress these people. Yeah. And if I don't, I'm a failure. Like, and it's like, I can't even be bothered going into it, but it's very much stemmed in, like, all of those generational, obviously the generations before us had to endure war and they went through, famine, like all of those going without. And then they had the opportunity, like women had the opportunity to enter the workforce. So, that was a luxury, and go to university and learn. And, so I totally acknowledge that people have come a really long way in, having to endure all the different things that life has thrown at us. And now I'm about going, well, this is the next generation and this is what's possible for them. So let's actually not just pass on what we had to do or what was a luxury for us, and let them choose. Yeah.
It's pretty inspiring.
Thanks.
That light bulb moment when you sit with someone, maybe someone that is a bit more of the traditional path, and when you can break through them and say, look, you could do this for yourself, or you could do this differently.
Yeah.
Is there that light bulb that goes off? Is that what you look for? Is that what excites you when you're working with someone?
Yeah, I think I get a lot of people who've mainly just had that light bulb and went, whoa, what am I doing? Like, I'm ready. I've got this idea. I guarantee probably 95% of the world has an idea for a business. Like, everyone's kind of got this little side hustle idea that they want to follow.
Yeah.
It's the people who go to that point where they're like, okay, I'm ready to investigate what the potential of this is. So I get a lot of people who've already had that light bulb. I've recently had an amazing girl who was, she's doing a job for a company and was really unhappy with the conditions that she was working in. And she said, oh, look, I'm thinking about starting to like consult this on the side. And plus she'd kind of built a platform and she wanted to, monetize the platform, the reach and the following that she'd created. And then add her consulting fees. And I was like, cool. And she's like, I think my plan is I'm going to give it a year, finish in this job and learn what I need to learn and then do it. And when I looked at her expertise, her reach, the audience she had, her possibilities, it was just so clear to me that she didn't need to wait a year. I'm like, it's right here, right now. Like, you can do this. It's been done. I've done it. Like, I can see it for you. And she was like, really? And then that was probably about a month ago, and she just emailed me the other day saying the conditions in her workplace just got worse and she's out. She's like, I'm done. I'm leaving it. And after our conversation, she had a couple of emails come through of people who wanted to pay for her consulting fees without even advertising it. So that kind of validated it. And then the thing happened at work, and then she just had enough and went, I'm out.
Yeah.
So we're catching up in a couple of weeks and going to set it all up and just make it happen. So I think when people get that, when you give them the hope and you go, hey, here's like a little, peek at what's possible, then that really ignites a fire in people and things happen way quicker than they expect. Yeah.
I think I've heard there's a saying, or someone once told me, they said, if only I could show you what it would look like in 5 years' time. So like, here's a photo of you doing everything you want to do, achieving everything. Is that all you need to do to get there is this. Whereas we tell people, like, all you need to do to get there is do this, but they can't see that photo. They can't see that what it could look like. So I said, if only there's a way of showing someone, saying, this is what your future could look like if you do this.
Well, that's what meditation is. Like, I really delved into the world of meditation and manifesting and like visualization of your future. So it's like, that's, a lot of personal development teaches that, which is make a vision board and like feel it in your body. And the first thing you need to do is step out and go, okay, it's possible for me to create a life that I don't currently have. If you can do that first, then you can go, okay, if I believe that's possible, then you step back from your current existence and you go, all right, if I could do this differently, what would I do? And then you start to imagine and you look at other people's lives, or you read magazines, or you listen to podcasts, or you watch a movie and you go, well, I want that house, or I want that car, or I would love to be on the beach on a Wednesday. And you dream. And then this is the beautiful part of being human, is that we have an imagination and we can visualize something that doesn't yet exist. And now what they're proving with science and neuro pathways is that when you start to feel it in your body that something else is possible, you start to attract it into your existence. So that's how you visualize your future that you don't have. And it works, guys.
Try it out. Try it out. Awesome.
Cool.
So where are your clients based at the moment? Like, where are they?
Around the world. Yeah, I have New York, I have LA, I have Tokyo, I have Indonesia, London, Australia, where else? A Singapore lady,
And when you started, did you ever envision that you would have clients all around the world, or
No.
did you think you'd be Gold Coast based? Like,
Gold Coast. I was like Gold Coast, and then I remember being like, oh, maybe I'll go to Sydney one day and run a workshop there. And it was when we started the magazine that an order I remember came through for Germany or something like that.
Of course.
Online. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, someone in Germany is buying my magazine. Like, what the hell? Like, what a cool world. And then people around the globe reach out through social media and, say hi, and you're just like, wow, like, it's incredible. Yeah.
So 100% location independent business, like we were talking before. Currently living out of a backpack, out of a suitcase, Sydney, Gold Coast.
Yeah, I literally am living out of a suitcase, and as long as I have my laptop, I can make money. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Or my phone, even if I just do Skype sessions with Instagram and emails. Yeah.
And was that something you've set up intentionally to say, right, this is a goal, I want to be location independent? Like, was that an aim for you?
Not necessarily that. Like when I started my business, I was in a pretty serious relationship, and my partner had a child, so we were always pretty stable in terms of like creating a home and things like that. My vision always was to be able to like work the hours that I wanted. So to go away on holidays when I wanted, to take Mondays off, to take Fridays off, to, work half days. Like it was more about the flexibility of the hours that I wanted to work. And not having to get up and be in an office was probably my biggest drive. And then even to be honest, I've only really come to terms with the fact that my business is capable of going anywhere in the world about 6 months ago when I went to New York. And I was like, can I really do this? Like, is this really possible? And I went to New York and I ended up staying for 3 months and generated business. But it also, there was people who didn't really like it as well. I had coaching clients and followers and who were just like, well, you seem like you're in New York and I don't want to, you seem busy, kind of vibe. And I was just like, it was interesting to get a bit of that feedback of, I felt like it was a little bit of a tall poppy syndrome of like, oh, you've forgotten about us something. And I was like, no, I worked crazy hours when I was in New York because I was dealing with time zones.
So did you still have your set schedule? So you'd be like, I'm going to work these hours in the morning while it's back here in Australia?
It was insane because I was managing a business. Like, obviously, my business partner who helps me with the magazine and my assistant they were in Australia, so they were on East Coast time. And then, but then I was trying to grow and establish a presence in the States, so I needed to be on their timing as well. So I would wake up about 8 in the morning and I would meditate and have a coffee and sometimes exercise or just have a sauna.
Yeah, nice.
And then
close enough. We're still sweating it off.
It made me feel like I was exercising. And then so I'd probably sit down to work from about 9, 10, and I'd do emails would come through from Australia being awake while I was asleep.
Yep.
So I'd reply to all of those emails and Australia was still asleep. And then I might go out and either explore New York or I was setting up meetings or doing photo shoots and videoing and networking. And so just do a bit of business. And then Australia would wake up around 2 in the afternoon. So then I would start getting replies to emails that I'd sent that morning. So my inbox would blow up again. So I would try and reply to all those inboxes, or if it was people online that I needed answers from or things like that, I'd have to make sure it was available. And then I would have a social life.
Nice.
Then I would coach. So then I'd do my coaching sessions up until about 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then I would go out and have dinner and party and get home at 2 a.m. and do it all again.
Awesome.
That was my life for 3 months.
Yeah. An awesome experience being over there.
Oh, absolutely. It's next level. It's creative. It's abundant. There's people just want to help. They want to collaborate. Everyone's killing it. The people I met were just in Australia, it's like, cool, you know, you've kind of ticked over a certain amount of followers on Instagram, and I could run a workshop anywhere in Australia right now and have people turn up. And, you know, the last time I did a big networking event, we sold out at like 250 people, you know, like, so really established a presence of people taking us seriously. And then to go overseas and be like, okay, cool, I actually felt really small.
Had to start again almost.
But people took us seriously, but it was like what I thought was kind of, you know, a bit of like, oh, we've got this many followers on Instagram, we're on a magazine, like, you know, kind of established you in Australia, starting to be a bit of like a voice, to go over there and to meet people who are like, oh yeah, I'm making a documentary for about building cabins in the woods that a whiskey company's paying for, and it's going to be on the Lifestyle Channel. And
Damn it!
Just people like that. It's like, oh yeah, I was the costume designer for Beyonce's Lemonade tour. Just shit like that. And I'm like, fuck, I need to up my game. But the beautiful thing was that all of those people were like, what? You run a magazine? Amazing. You should talk to this person, or you should put a channel. You know, so it was never like, oh, I'm better than you. It was like, amazing. Here's what I do. What do you do? How can we work together? This is great. And love what you're doing, and welcome to America.
And where you were staying, like obviously following you on Instagram, the Cowboy
Urban Cowboy.
Was that like just a random backpackers, or was that like a place where
it's run by this young guy. He's a real estate agent in New York. Did really well, bought his dream house in Brooklyn and renovated it, and he was at some creative like retreat with all these other creative people he knew, and they kind of challenged him and said, well, what are you going to do next with your career? And he said, oh, well, maybe I'll make my house a B&B. So him and his partner renovated this beautiful home. There's 3 bedrooms upstairs and a cabin out the back in the middle of Brooklyn with a hot tub and a sauna, and they hired a manager, and people come and go. It's a legit B&B run by these cool creative people who are really well networked in the city. And it's just like the go-to hub. Like, you have to send an email to get a room there and put your Instagram handle on. Like, you know, like, and then
validation.
And then they decide whether you're the right fit for the house or not. And it's a lot like that. A lot of creative people who were coming to New York and don't want to stay in Manhattan or in a traditional like hotel, come and stay there. And so it was like a little incubator as well.
That's awesome.
I met lots of cool people.
And you stayed there for the whole 3 months?
No, so I was travelling with friends for a month. I was meant to only be there for 2 weeks. I ended up staying for a month. My friends were like, no, stay, come longer. I think I went earlier, and then I stayed for a month. And then all my friends were flying out, and I was like, no, I'm not leaving. Like, I want to stay here. And I was in between houses in Australia, so I didn't have a rent to go home to, which was good. So I came to Australia. I stayed in New York and hit the Urban Cowboy up and said, can I stay for a month? And they were like, yep. And it turned into about 7 weeks, and then I went to LA for 2 weeks. So it was insane in that time. I just put my head down. I was like, all right, what can I do here?
And what was the setup there? Was it like a room, and then like downstairs be like a co-worker space? Or
it's a house. Like, it was like a lot of people were coming just for a couple of nights and to explore New York. Or like one lady came because she got nominated for the Grammys, and so it's just classic. Another guy was distributing his new juice company around New York, so he was there. But so I was upstairs was the room. So literally my routine was like, and Kaz, the girl who ran it, was the manager. She'd make my coffee every morning. It was like the best way to like do work well. Is I had a room upstairs. She would come down. She'd give me my coffee in the morning, do my exercise or whatever. Sit at the table and just work on my laptop. And then people would be in and out all day. By the end of the day, you know, the guests who were staying at that house, staying that weekend, were like, you know, planning their night out or whatever, and you know, we'd all make plans or have a dinner party or
Sounds like a pretty cool way to see New York.
Yeah, it was epic. There was lots of locals. Highly recommend that place.
Definitely. have to check it out.
Yeah, do it.
So, changing topics a little bit, but staying along the lines of businesses and startups. What's your relationship with money?
It was pretty shit. My family, I think I grew up with not much money coming in, and a lot of stress and anxiety about the flow of money in and out. And I think as a result, I felt like a real lack mentality of like, clinging to it. No education around managing it. And then I threw myself into when I started my business, threw myself into like getting comfortable with asking for money, like just sending invoices or putting your prices up. And then also knowing that I could attract abundance of it into my life. And I actually, my most inspiring way to learn around that money or like is mindset stuff now, just believing that, it comes in abundance and you believe in it and you provide opportunities for it too. And a really good book that I read was called Overcoming Under-Owning, and it took me through all these worksheets of like all the belief systems that I had around money. It was like, it doesn't grow on trees, and what do you think we're made of money? So just like, and I'm continuing that journey, continuing the shift of lack mentality to abundance.
And again, do you think it's that traditional mindset of, all right, you get the job, like we talked before, get the job, you earn the salary, and that's it? Like, that's just kind of ingrained in us, and then if you don't buy a house, you're not successful. And then, like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think I've got friends who are millionaires, and I've got friends who are running multi-million dollar businesses, and the difference between those people and, even me at times in my life, and people who I know are in salaries jobs, is they believe that they can have lots of money. Like, there's lots to go around, and they're just comfortable with large sums of money. It's like, the more comfortable you are with that chunks of money, the more like you're capable of spending it or earning it and all of that. So the people I think that are doing really well with money in the world are really abundant with it. Are the ones that go, of course I can earn shitloads of money. They just have that mindset of it. And also they're good at managing it and in reinvesting it and things like that as well. So.
Do you think it's still it might be different in your space, but do you think it's still a measure of success, the money?
I think there's a lot of taboo around money, and there's a lot of negativity around. I think in Australia we do a bit of tall poppy syndrome when people earn a lot of money and they're so rich or whatever, and they have nice things, which I think just comes out of a lack mentality. But I think we do very much grasp. Like, no one teaches money management. No one teaches money relations, like emotions. Yeah. So we're very graspy, and we're very I can't afford it. All of that kind of language. But in terms of success, I think, I don't think it means you're happy. I think that it means you've mastered the art of, it's just a code. Making money is a code. It's a formula, and holding on to money, I think, is also another big formula that people need to master.
That's the challenging part, I think. Trying to hold on to it.
Yeah, not need to explode it out. But I think, my relationship to abundance of money has more so shifted into it is that money can provide ease and freedom, and it makes you more of what you already are. So if you're a dickhead and you have lots of money, then you're going to be, you have more money to fund being a dickhead.
That's a really good point.
Whereas if you're a generous person and you're really, then you're going to, money makes you more generous, gives you the ability to be more generous. Yep. So, I'm not scared of the taboo around it anymore, or people, I really notice the lack, just language around money in the world. Yeah. One of the biggest shifts for me was going, instead of going I can't afford it, to how can I afford this? And figuring out cool, well, you know, I run a business, so I can offer these services and ask people to come buy from me or something. Yeah.
And did that come from knowing what you wanted? Like, did that come from saying, right, this is the lifestyle I want, this is what I want to achieve?
Yeah.
Right, now what do I need to do to achieve it?
Yeah, yep, definitely. So, I guess, like, knowing that I've always wanted abundance of money in my life. Like, I've never really had this belief that I had to be poor or anything like that. Like, I've always been like, no, like, I'm gonna own a Range Rover one day, you know, like all of those things. So,
have you achieved that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Stay tuned. Well, I was like, I'm gonna get the Range Rover, and now I'm like, I just want to be in New York where I wouldn't.
You don't need a car.
I would not want a Range Rover.
Yeah.
But the question was, what was the question? What did we say?
I think I lost it.
Yeah.
You're knowing what you wanted, so you're saying, this is the lifestyle I want, this is what I want to achieve. Right, now how do I?
Yeah, absolutely. Setting your intentions and being like, cool, what does freedom or happiness or abundance look like for you? For you, it might be one person, it might be one holiday a year. For me, it's living overseas indefinitely and not having, you know, being able to explore and travel and, you know, not have to worry about, you know, hustling or whatever, like passive income, you know.
Yeah.
So everyone's different, but setting that intention of what you want is the first step to getting it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How much of your job at the moment or with your clients is getting them to that point to say, right, what is it are you actually trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Goal setting. Because I know for me, that's a huge part.
Yeah. Yep.
So
absolutely. Oh, yeah. I think most people, like I had a client yesterday and she was like, I want to do this, but I've got this name and I don't really like the name of my business anymore, but I want to be doing more of this. And like how she spoke to me was chaotic. Like it was like all over the place. And I was like, right, you just need to bring your focus in and have one laser focus of exactly what it is that you want.
Yep.
And then once you've got that focus, then you can actually start to take the steps. So it's like, you know, if you go, I want to go on a holiday. I'd be like, cool, where do you want to go? And you're like, I don't know. It's like, cool, guess what? You're never going on that holiday. But if you came to me and said, I want to go to Bali, I'd be like, cool, what time of year do you want to go? When can you fly? Who do you want to fly with? What seats do you want on the plane? Where are you going to stay? What are you going to do when you get there? It's like, all of a sudden there's a list that's going to help you get your holiday in Bali. Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so to round things out, some quick advice in terms of young people turning an idea into a business.
Cool. Validate it. So making sure that it's something people want to pay for, I think is always the first step. Because, you know, sometimes you have a nice idea and it's just a nice idea. Or it's like, it's maybe a hobby or a side project. But if you can figure out that people will pay for it, then it can be a business. The next step is to get people paying for it and then getting their feedback and making sure it's something that they would continue to pay for or that they would tell other people to pay for.
Yeah.
And then just doing the hard work. So once you've validated that it's actually a viable business and that there's a profit margin, that people are going to pay, they're willing to pay, they want to buy it from you, they can get it, you know, they would prefer to buy it from you, then do the work. So, you know, create a way for people to come by, whether it's a website or a market stall or a service offering on social media, and then market yourself, get out and get in front of your target market, and then keep learning along the way, keep getting feedback, and, you know, don't be afraid to keep zooming out and looking at the business and working on it and not always in it.
Yeah.
So you'll deliver your service or your product and that's in the business. To work on it is like, okay, am I getting enough customers? Is my margin high enough? You know, what overheads have I got coming in? You know, all those things.
Awesome. And for people that are scared to start, so they've got the business idea, they know what they want to do, and they're just sitting there and they're just scared for whatever reason. What's your advice there?
Just start. Like, I think it's not about the actual business. I think the business is a vehicle and a tool that I believe will create freedom. So if you believe in a life better than what you or different to what you're currently existing, so then, and a business is a tool to help you create that life. So, you know, let's just go, the typical person is probably in a 9-to-5 or in a job that they don't like, or they hate going to work, or they're not earning enough money, or, you know, they're feeling a bit stuck and over it here. Okay, maybe they don't have a job and they've got an idea, And so the idea is going to help them go from what they don't like to creating the life of their dreams, which is working for themselves, having uncapped income, ability to live and travel anywhere in the world, only working with people that you love and doing what you love. That's what a business can create for you. So focus on exactly what we're talking about before, the end goal.
Yep.
So keeping the end in mind of like, all right, if this is not just about a website or a social media strategy, or it's actually about not having to go to work on Monday and, being able to triple your income in 3 months or whatever, Yeah. And if you hold those emotions and those drives in your mind and your body, then that will drive you beyond, anything else. Yeah.
So just fucking do it.
Yeah. Just get in and stop being a pussy.
Awesome. So what's next for Kaylene Langford and Startup Creative?
What's next? Oh, so much. We're about to relaunch a magazine. So it was a... Number 5. Issue 1 to 4 was a 40-page print magazine, free. Just dropped it around Australia, really, and shipped it internationally to whoever ordered it.
To Germany.
To Germany. And issue 5 is going to be 120 pages. It's going to be $14.95 in newsagents, stockists around Australia and New Zealand.
Awesome.
Hopefully in America as well. And we're going to aim to do 3 of those this year. And then we've just launched a podcast. I'm working on a reality TV show at the moment, which is pretty exciting.
Is that all very hush-hush at the moment?
Yeah, it's all a bit top secret, that one. But
I'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to stay tuned.
Yeah.
But also I've got a few little now that I feel like, Startup Creative's got a vision of where it needs to go, and we've created an epic team around us to help make that happen. It feels like I've got more energy to create some other little fun stuff. So I'm working on a product range at the moment as well, and
awesome.
And then also maybe another fun little idea's popped up.
Clothing product?
No, it's in the health industry.
Awesome.
So yeah, stay tuned for that one.
So where can people find you? What's the best place to get in contact?
Instagram is probably the easiest, so it's at Startup Creative, and then the link in our bio will normally take you to our podcast, which is Startup Creative on iTunes and Spotify, and then our website, which we're relaunching a new website next week, and that is startupcreative.com.au, and that's got blogs, podcasts, ebooks, free downloads, lots of free advice. To help you start your business.
Excellent.
Pleasure.
Anything you want to leave? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Just get out there and do it. Like, literally, life is too short to not be doing what you love, and you live in a day and an age right here, right now. That means that is completely supportive and has already been proven that if you are willing to do the hard work, you can turn your idea, your passion, into a viable business and sell around the globe overnight through PayPal, through Instagram.
Yep.
So stop making excuses. If you want it, go and get it.
Excellent. Heard it here first. Thanks
Thanks for having me.
No problem.